And welcome back. Because I wanted to talk about Northern Europe, I should have talked about the Renaissance in Northern Europe very summarily, and I'm sorry again, it's a time issue. And I also, started bringing up the Baroque, okay? So we go from Renaissance, which is 1400 and 1500, particularly the first quarter of the 1500, and then people start exaggerating, and we go into maniera, mannerism. That would be from 1525 maybe to 600. These things are not like in textbooks. This is life. But what happens after maniera? What happens when we get to the 1600? We get end of 1500s, to 1600s, we get Baroque. Now this is major. This is not the Renaissance. People know the Renaissance a lot better, perhaps, but still the Baroque is super, super important. And the Baroque we can say it starts in the 1600 in Italy, okay? Because Rome, but not Florence, not Venice, Rome. Now it's the time for Rome to explode. And why Rome? Because, the church needs to fight back. The church fights back. What does it fight back? The Reformation. It fights back Protestantism. And how does the church fight back? It fights back with art. And this art is the art of the Baroque. What is Baroque? Baroque is a word from the Portuguese. It means a pearl with a defect, because these are great artists. They have the techniques of Michelangelo, the techniques of Da Vinci. They know all the techniques, but then, like in Maniera, they make things a little bit darker, a little bit more human, a little bit more with the human stain. So that is El Barroco, and here is Caravaggio. Caravaggio is the great symbol of the Baroque. Caravaggio is one of the most talented painters. And Caravaggio is also an assassin. He killed a man. He was a crook. He was fleeing justice. His character was in question always. Look at these pictures by Caravaggio. St. Matthew and the angel. Look at this. St. Matthew, the call of St. Matthew, right? And what does Caravaggio do? He brings chiaroscuro. He makes it more exaggerated. And we call it tenebrism, because now it's dark. Think about The Dark Knight Returns. That darkness, that's Caravaggio at that moment, okay? And look at these pictures. When you see the call of St. Matthew, you see that darkness in part of the picture. When you see St. Matthew being tortured, you also see that when you see the entombment of Christ, which I'm showing you here, you also see St. Matthew. And you have also these nudes that he would do, maybe for some church people. Some priest would ask him to paint naked guys. And here we have this remarkable male, if not nudes, provocative, semi-naked bodies. And again, look at the no brushwork. It's so smooth, it's so perfect, and it's also so dark. So that's how we start with the Baroque. The Baroque starts in Rome. And I want to talk about a woman artist. We don't talk enough about women artists, and I do have a presentation about Renaissance women artists. But my favorite artist of this epoch is, she's called Artemisia Gentileschi. She is from the Baroque, okay? And she has an amazing history. Artemisia. Actually, let's erase this. Artemisia. And the last name is Gentileschi with 2 L's. And look at Judith in Holofernes. She does this art that is about violence. It's all very violent. It's like women killing men, because she was raped by her art teacher. I mean, she had a very, very horrible story. She was the daughter of a very influential of a good artist, and he trained her, but he kept her, you know, controlled. And then this other professor came into her life, and he raped her and whatever. It was like very, very bad moment. But she kept painting. She became a very important painter. And here are some of her works: Judith and Holofernes, Judith and her maid. And other than that, I'm just going to show you a couple of other pictures, you know, from the Baroque. And again, when you look at the Baroque, look at all the prevalence, how convoluted, how like ants, how like bees, you have that thing. But when we talk about the Baroque, we also have to think about a sculpture and an architect. And the great architect of the Baroque, the great sculptor of the Baroque, his name is Bernini. And Bernini, you know, he is the guy that came up with the colonnade of St. Peter's, right? After Michelangelo finished with St. Peter's, you have these two arms kind of saying to the faithful, welcome, hello. And that was done by Bernini, Giovanni, you know, by Bernini. Gian Lorenzo, sorry, Bernini, 1598, 1680. He was an architect of St. Peter. He did the colonnade. He did the baldacchino, okay? The baldacchino, which is kind of like a place where the priest goes and you put the Holy Host, you know, and it's got 4 columns, and the columns are Solomonic columns. They're not straight. They're very Baroque. He also has a great sculpture of the Virgin, of Saint Teresa, in an ecstasy. It looks like she's having an orgasm. This is Bernini, and you see all the pleats in her dress are all there in Bernini's work. So, you know, Bernini is really the most well-known sculptor of the Baroque, just like Caravaggio is the most well-known painter of the Baroque. And, you know, in the middle, you have this remarkable women artist called Artemisia Gentileschi. Besides that, I think it's very, very important that we also go to Spain briefly. How much time do we have? Very good. We still have some time. I'm trying to keep this at 10 minutes, but sometimes there's so much to say. We got to keep going on. But at this time, I would like to go on to Spain. To Spain, because in Spain we have an incredibly talented painter, and that is Velázquez. To me, he's the best European painter ever, okay? Diego Velázquez. And Diego Velázquez is painting in the 1600s, and Diego Velázquez can do reality like no one else. And Diego Velázquez becomes the court painter, you know, of the great kings of Spain who own half of the world in the Americas, you know, and who have also arrived at the Philippines and are also trading with China. I mean, you know, it's an incredibly wealthy court, the court of Spain, and Diego Velázquez is the court painter. And I want to show you, these are the beginnings of Diego Velázquez when he's young. Those are the painters of Diego Velázquez. And then later on, as he gets older and older, more mature, look at this painting, The Triumph of Bacchus, the god of drunkenness. This is from 1629. You can see the multitude of people, darkness, you know. And Velázquez studied with Rivera, who was a pupil of Caravaggio. So you see how the Baroque goes from Rome and Caravaggio all the way to this master in Spain. And it has been said that Velázquez painted the air in this picture. This is a picture I need you to remember, 1656, Las Meninas. This is Velázquez painting the royal family. It doesn't get more Baroque than this. There is space, there is darkness, there is royalty, there are dwarfs with the little baby princesses, you know, and then of course there is the self. Velázquez shows himself at a self-portrait. And how are we looking at this? How do we see this? In a mirror. The mirror is the device par excellence of the Baroque. Another picture. Here's some details. Diego Velázquez, Venus, from 1649. Take a look at Venus, the mirror, Velázquez having the woman look in the mirror. So these are all, you know, early 1600s or until 1650 Baroque painters that you should concentrate on. Enjoy, and I look forward to the next lesson.